Hey everyone, this is Hanif Azim, your trainer today. We're going to be going over Modernizing Medicine's EMA, Electronic Medical Record System, in this video. We will be going over the basic components for EMA, talking about the system that you'll be using daily as you manage patient care. This is the electronic medical record where we'll see patients' previous appointment information, their charts, we'll send messages and things like that. So there's a lot of different smaller components to go into. This is just going to be a basic overview, and in future videos you're going to get into more detail with some of the smaller components. So for today's agenda, we are going to be learning to look up patients, to pull them up in the system. We will be learning which buttons we will click on to send messages to clinic staff, which is also called tasking. We will learn where to go to turn on and unlock patient portal if those patients want to use that functionality. We will also learn where we can go to view patient charts and information from their visits, and how we will request medication refills and things like that as well. Let's get started. As I stated earlier, EMA is the electronic medical record tool. It's used by finite clinics and employees to help manage patient care and their medical records. In this system, you'll be able to view patients' histories, send messages to clinic level staff, manage patient portal activation, all kinds of things that you're going to need daily as you're doing your tasks to provide the best quality care to our dermatology patients. One of the first things that we need to know how to do once we pull up EMA is how to search for existing patients in the system. Any patient that we're looking up here in EMA should have already been created in the system using the ECW software that we do for scheduling. If you have not gone through ECW training yet, that will be another video that your trainer will be reviewing with you at a later time. But once we are here in EMA, that account should have already been created, so we can go ahead and look the person up. If you look at the top of your screen, you're going to see that there's a field that says Patient Search, and we're going to use that to begin our search for our patient. Once we click in the patient search field, we can then start putting in the date of birth or the name to look them up. We are going to use date of birth as the initial search function when we're looking for patients, because there may be several patients with the same name and we don't want to make a mistake by selecting the wrong person. So we always want to use the date of birth as our first lookup function. Once you put the date of birth in there, the drop down will come with several different names of people who all have the same date of birth. As you can see here, my test patient is the person I'm looking for. They were at the bottom of the list. There are several other options that were available, and that was the person that I was looking for, and so that is what I'm going to select. I can just click on that and then it will pull the person up. Now that we have looked the patient up in the patient search field, let's move forward and imagine that we need to go back and pull up a different patient that we had been talking to previously earlier in the day. Maybe we need to send a message to the nurse about this patient that we forgot to input. We got some new information that we need to update, or whatever the reason is. We can use the last 10 button in order to look up previous patients that we have pulled up in EMA, so that we can pull them up again without remembering all of their information. So if you look to the very right of the patient search lookup field, you're going to see an icon that's like a lavender color. Looks like a clock, but it has an arrow going around the face of the clock. That is our last 10 patients button. Click on that and it's going to bring a drop down of the last 10 patients that you have searched for. Now, if this is your first time in EMA, then obviously you haven't searched for anyone before, so it won't have anyone there. However, if you've looked up a few patients, and you can just put in a few different date of births and things like that in the meantime, it will show you the last 10 that you clicked on and pulled up. So this is a great function to remember to be able to use if you ever have to go back to someone that you had spoken with earlier in the day. Let's move on now to the ribbon across the top of your screen. This largely purple menu is going to have a couple of different buttons that we're going to focus on primarily, and that's going to be the one for tasks and the one for document management. Now, if you go ahead and click on task, that one is going to give you the option to manage tasks. Will also give you the option to create a new task. But if you just click the button task itself, it will take you to your inbox for your tasks. And what this is, basically you need to know that tasks in our environment are the same as requests or messages that you're sending to someone. So just like an email or an instant message, almost basically you're sending someone a message for them to do something, and that's why it's called a task. And so if you click on tasks right there, it's going to give you the option to look at messages that other people have sent to you. Also notice that there is one there above tasks on my screen. That's because this is showing me that I have one task that someone has sent to me that I have not seen yet. It's one new task there that I have not looked at yet that I need to address. Now, sometimes you'll find that there will be two numbers there, one and then another one that's highlighted in a different color. And that's because that was an urgent, higher priority task that was sent to you that you need to look at and address. The other item on this ribbon that we use heavily is going to be document management. And so document management there, it will allow you to manage attachments that you want to attach to the patient's chart, like maybe pictures or letters that you have scanned in. It will also allow you to receive and send faxes, which is important when people are trying to send over information from other clinics and things like that. So those are the two areas really that we're going to use in our clinics when it comes to the ribbon here in EMA. Our next area is going to be the patient banner. So if we move right underneath the ribbon, you're going to see this white area, which is the patient banner. To the far left of it, there's going to be a picture in the circle. Normally that's going to be a picture that has been taken of the patient. This person that I'm looking at right now is not a real person. It's a test example. So there's not a picture of a real person there, but normally that's where the person's portrait will. Now that I've expanded the banner, I can see that below it is showing me on the far left who the patient's preferred provider is. That's going to be the primary provider. Physician is the person that they're going to see in our clinics mainly. Now, there may be situations where you will schedule a person with someone who's not their primary provider. Maybe they need to get in right away for something, or they just need a medication refill real quick or something like that. But there may be reasons to schedule with someone else, but we always want to put them back with their preferred provider whenever possible. Primary care provider is listed under that. That's going to be this person's primary care doctor, their PCP, sometimes called their family doctor. and under that, referring provider. So who referred them to us? How did they hear about us, and who told them to come to our clinics? Moving to the right, you'll see the primary medical payer, otherwise known as the insurance. Who's paying for this visit for this person? How are they paying for their care? So you'll see it listed there. Going further over, we have the address for the person, their primary address that we use, that we have on file. And then next is the preferred pharmacy. Now, a little bit down the road in another video, we're going to dive a little deeper into the preferred pharmacy field. But for now, you can see that there are several pharmacies listed here. One is Flatbush Pharmacy. The other one is the CVS Pharmacy. And it looks like there's one right below that also. If we were to scroll, we would be able to see it. That being the case, the one that's at the very top is going to be the default pharmacy that's used, and the others are just others, alternate pharmacies this person may use. Maybe they get one medication from one pharmacy and another from another pharmacy because it's cheaper there or something like that. Or maybe they have homes in two different places and they just tell us to put the prescription in whichever pharmacy is closest to their home that they're in currently. Whatever the reason is, we'll go a little deeper into preferred pharmacies on another video. And lastly, on the far right-hand side, you see it has contact methods. So it has this person's home and mobile number. Also, if it's okay for us to leave messages. And the last time they logged into the patient portal as well. Okay, now moving on to this horizontal taskbar. There's quite a few buttons here, but for our intents and purposes, there really is only one that we're going to worry about, and that's going to be the Edit Patient Data button. It's the fourth button from the left. Looks like a little person there. It says Edit Patient Data. Now, the reason we're going to get into this particular button is because that's where we're going to go to start the process of unlocking a patient portal. So you can look at a patient portal status, see when the last time they logged in, how many attempts have been made that were rejected, if the patient is locked out. You can also change their password, give them a temporary password, so on and so forth. Generally manage their patient portal. And that's where we're going to do it, is right there. Again, we're going to go a little more in depth into each of these processes on another video. Moving on to the left-hand navigation bar, there's several different buttons on this navigation bar that are going to be important to us in what we do daily. The first of those is going to be chart notes. Now, this is where you're going to go to look at the notes that have been written down for each of the patient's visits. So whenever a patient comes in to be seen in our clinics, the providers will write a summary of everything that happened during that visit. And they'll talk about the patient's history of their present illness, what their major concern was, their impressions and plan of how to treat each individual issue or concern that the patient came in for. They will talk about when they want the patient to come back for their next visit. They will also talk about all kinds of other things and show pictures if pictures were taken, or they'll show the locations of any type of concerns that the patient had on their body. And you can see those notes in written form on the chart notes button. Now the next button on the list is tasks. Now remember, we had two other locations that we were using to manage tasks that we looked at earlier. The first one was at the top in the ribbon, and that one was your inbox, where you could see where someone had sent you something. Then on the top right hand corner in the banner, there is the create, so make a new tasks. Now here on the left hand navigation bar, this task button is going to show you all of the tasks that have been sent for the particular patient you're currently looking at, that you have pulled up right now, that have already been sent for this patient. So if someone sent a message asking for a medication refill, it's going to show up here. And that way you want to make sure that you're always checking here first before sending a new task, because you don't want to be sending a duplicate message. If someone has already sent a message for this medication refill, you don't want to send another one. So that's where you will look to see tasks that have been already sent for a particular patient. The next button on the list that you're going to look at is the orders logged, and here you can see any orders that have been placed for the patient and if they've been completed. You can also see the same thing for path labs, which is right under that button. And so if there's pathology that has been done, if someone had a biopsy where the provider did like a punch biopsy or any other type of biopsy, maybe that you were using a scrape method or whatever it is, but when the biopsy is done, it's sent to the lab for pathology to see if there's any cancerous cells or anything like that in it, or any other pathology. And you will see if they have pathology done, when it's supposed to be done, what the results are, and things like that. You'll all see all that there. Moving further along, the next button that we're going to be worried about for our processes is going to be the RX history. Now, RX stands for prescription, and history, that's going to show you the medications that have been prescribed for this patient. It's going to give you information on each of those medications, including who wrote the medication refill request, what pharmacy it was sent to, if they have refills, so on and so forth. But we'll get into more in depth into that on another video. Next is the attachments button, and that's where you can access or update attachments that have been placed to the patient's chart. And then visit summaries. Visit summaries will give you similar information that you found under the chart notes. This is just another location that you can look at to get some of that information. And this is really some summaries, so sometimes it's not as in-depth, but basically you'll be finding some of the same information as you'll find under chart notes. Now, as we are looking towards the middle of the screen, on the left-hand side, you will see the patient clipboard, and this has a lot of information, just a summary of a lot of information about the patient themselves. Moving over to the right-hand side, you're going to see the section that says upcoming appointments. Now, this area is exactly what it says. It's going to show you upcoming appointments for the patient that you're currently looking at. Now, I want you to take this with a grain of salt, though. The appointments that are listed here are appointments that are upcoming for this patient. However, this information is pulled from ECW, and while the two systems do talk to each other, they do communicate with each other, sometimes there can be a little bit of a delay, so you may have information here in EMA that is not as up to date as what is in ECW. So whenever you are speaking with the patient, giving them out their upcoming appointment information, I don't want you to pull it from this section. I want you to ignore this and just go over to ECW in order to get that information. So remember, anything related to their upcoming appointment dates and times, make sure you get that from ECW, not EMA. Alright, and the last area we're going to look at in this particular video is going to be our patient activity section. So this is on the bottom right hand side of the screen. Patient activity will have the dates of previous appointments and activity, and you can click on those dates and we'll pull up information from the patient's chart, chart notes from the provider, as well as other information, vitals that were related to their appointment, their interaction that we had with them on that date. You can see that this information is going to be containing a lot of the same information that you're going to see in the visit summaries area on the left hand side, as well as in the chart notes on the left hand side as well. It often is in a different format, but you'll quite often see pretty much the same information there though. So any one of the three of those buttons can be very helpful when looking up what had happened to a patient when they came into their last appointment. Well, okay, we've made it through to the end of our video today. As I spoke about earlier, we will get into more specific drill downs into the specific components here in EMA on later videos. This was just one that was supposed to cover our basic components just so you can get the lay of the land, and we'll get further into the nitty-gritty, as they say, on a future video. If you have any questions in the meantime, please reach out to your trainer so that they can answer those for you. Thank you.